Welcome to Passport to Terror, a journey into the unknown. Tonight, we explore 5 chilling true ghost stories from Canada that remind us the supernatural world may be closer than we think. Sit back, dim the lights, and prepare yourself for tales that will haunt your dreams. The first real horror story is The Baby Swing.
I'm a big believer of spirits and supernatural things, and I'm not a professional, just a teenage girl wanting to tell my story. When I was young, around 2 to 4 years old, I lived in this big family house. My entire family lived together. My grandmother, grandfather, 2 uncles, my mom, and me. I vividly remember every detail. The intricately detailed floor vents, the red carpet, and the endless staircases. At night, my mom would attempt to put me to bed or take me to the bathroom. But I would scream, cry, and insist repeatedly that there was a lady upstairs. Terrified, I would crawl out of my bed and sleep on the staircase until the adults finally went to bed. My mom was concerned and took me to doctors who simply shrugged and wondered aloud, how could a child that young make it up? Eventually, my mom and I moved out, though the rest of our family stayed behind. 2 years later, we moved back into the same house. By then, I was about 5 or 6 years old. Though I still felt uneasy, my curiosity overcame me one day as I went snooping for birthday presents. I opened my closet door, and there she was. The lady stood silently, her pale face blankly staring at me, eyes dark and empty. I turned and bolted towards the stairs, heart pounding in my chest. As I rounded the corner to descend, I saw her shadow stretch, arms spreading as she lunged toward me. Panicked, I slipped, tumbling down the stairs, bruised and shaken. Afterwards, my nights became tormented. My room felt oppressive, eyes always watching me from shadowed corners. Doors would slowly creak open, whispers filled the air, and cold spots emerged without warning. Everyone dismissed my fears until one night, my mom awoke abruptly at exactly 3:30 a.m. A strange flash of light filled her room, and when she opened her eyes, the lady hovered above her, face inches from hers, ghastly and translucent. Terrified, my mother pulled the covers tightly over her head, finally believing me. Soon after, our dog started barking incessantly, growling at unseen figures lurking in the dark. Footsteps echoed through empty hallways, cabinets slammed shut, and an unsettling presence filled every corner of our home. Eventually, my grandparents and uncles moved out, unable to endure the haunting. We summoned a priest to bless the house, but fear drove us away before he could arrive. The family who moved in next had 5 children. When we returned briefly to retrieve mail, the mother told us of a mysterious force turning her baby's swing to maximum speed. I've never entered the house again, though sometimes I drive by wondering what the lady wanted, knowing she's still waiting, watching from those darkened windows.
The second story is about the malevolent apartment.
Back in the 1980s, my lover and I moved from Parkdale in Toronto to 419 Sherbourne. It was an old building, and our apartment was strangely arranged. The entrance was on the 2nd floor, and our living space was on the 3rd. We moved in with our 3 cats and a dog. The apartment was spacious, featuring a long, narrow hallway, a bedroom at the top of the stairs opposite the kitchen, a bathroom 3/4 down the hall, and a living room at the very end. Oddly, the living room contained a small hidden area behind a wooden bookshelf with a kitchen sink, remnants from when rooms were individually rented out years ago. The strange occurrences began subtly. Returning home from a weekend away in London, we found a wooden cross from the wall lying inexplicably on the floor, while our cats, visibly shaken, hid beneath the bed or crouched nervously near windows. Usually affectionate, they wouldn't come out to greet us, their eyes wide with fear. Soon after, I began noticing unsettling sounds. Frequently, the distinct creak of our apartment door opening echoed up the staircase, followed by the sound of footsteps ascending exactly 3 steps, then abruptly stopping. Each time my dog's ears perked and she accompanied me warily down the stairs to investigate, yet we always found nothing but silence and emptiness. One chilling evening, the noise repeated. The door opened, footsteps climbed 3 stairs, and suddenly stopped. When I investigated, my makeshift screen barrier meant to prevent the cats from slipping into the wall cavity lay disturbingly on the 3rd step. My partner laughed off my concerns, attributing it to my imagination. However, another evening our friend was visiting, waiting with me for my partner's return. Precisely at 6 p.m., we both heard the unmistakable sound of the door opening, followed by 3 heavy steps. My dog jumped excitedly, anticipating my partner's arrival, but her demeanor instantly shifted. She stiffened, every hair raised, growling ferociously at something invisible in the hallway. My friend quickly grabbed a heavy ashtray as we cautiously approached, yet my dog stubbornly blocked our path, snarling at empty air, focused intensely on a point about 6 feet off the floor. After thoroughly searching and finding nothing, our terrified friend left, urgently requesting that my partner call him immediately upon returning. Later that night, my partner spoke to him, becoming convinced of the apartment's malevolence. Soon after, we notified the landlord and hastily planned our departure. On the day we moved to our new home, our animals, previously traumatized, seemed suddenly relieved, joyfully exploring the new space. I returned to the old apartment once to collect mail. Reaching the building's steps, my dog refused to move further, whimpering fearfully, eyes locked upwards, as though sensing an evil lingering just beyond the doorway. I left quickly, never returning again.
Our third real horror story is about the grandfather clock.
I have so many stories to tell, but I'll start with when it first happened. My family owned an antique clock, not quite a grandfather clock, but one with a pendulum that hung prominently on our wall. Strangely, the pendulum had been still for years, even though the clock itself worked fine. One day, after the batteries had died and been removed, a mysterious white feather gently floated down from nowhere. My mom, convinced it was a sign from her late uncle, kissed the feather tenderly. Seconds later, the pendulum began swinging rhythmically, even without batteries. It wasn't an isolated incident either. Each time she kissed another feather, the pendulum sprang to life again, filling us with uneasy amazement. Another disturbing event occurred when I was home alone. Sitting at my computer with the TV on, I was startled as it suddenly turned itself off. Initially, I assumed my dog had sat on the remote, but to my surprise, it lay untouched beside me. On another occasion, the TV turned off precisely as I walked past it, as if acknowledging my presence. Then there was the night my dog proved to me that something unseen lurked in our home. After I let him inside, he sprinted into the family room, barking furiously at thin air, hackles raised, his eyes fixated on something invisible to me. Despite his obvious terror, my family refused to believe my accounts, dismissing them as imagination. One night, while reviewing webcam pictures with friends, I stumbled upon a chilling anomaly. A photo of darkness time-stamped at precisely 2:30 a.m., a time I was undoubtedly asleep. Shaken, I quickly deleted it, hoping to erase the evidence of whatever lurked there. Yet, the occurrences grew even more frightening. Whispered voices filled empty rooms, shadows darted swiftly across walls, and footsteps echoed hauntingly throughout the night. Cold, unseen hands brushed against me, sending chills down my spine. I began seeing shadowy figures in the corners of rooms, vanishing the moment I turned to confront them. One night, as I lay awake in bed, a chilling breath whispered my name softly in my ear. To this day, I can't help but wonder if these experiences were merely harmless visits from departed relatives or evidence of something darker and more sinister. Either way, I'm certain something paranormal resides in my house, lingering silently in the shadows, watching and waiting.
This next story is about the sobbing boy.
I moved into what initially appeared to be a charming house in Mississauga, Ontario, renting the basement suite with my spouse, Jason. About a month after settling in, strange occurrences began. Unexplainable noises echoed throughout the basement, and objects moved inexplicably on their own. Entire cabinets would be rearranged within mere minutes, leaving us bewildered and increasingly uneasy. Soon, small childlike handprints began appearing mysteriously on my closet mirrors, then spreading onto bathroom mirrors and windows, becoming impossible to ignore. Trying to remain compassionate, we spoke gently to whatever presence lingered, hoping kindness might calm the disturbances. Initially, it seemed to work. I vividly recall seeing the ghostly figure of a young boy named John sobbing softly in the corner, then suddenly appearing at my feet, desperately clutching my dress. I comforted him, offering toys and soothing words, and briefly, the eerie events subsided. However, our relief was short-lived. Within weeks, the disturbances returned with intensified aggression. Jason began experiencing physical attacks. Unseen hands slapped, poked, and scratched him violently. Overwhelmed by a profound sadness, I started suffering vivid, terrifying dreams where John repeatedly choked to death on an apple, as if reliving his death again and again. One particularly horrifying night, my friend Ash stayed over. In the early hours, she heard unsettling laughter and footsteps scurrying in the kitchen. Assuming it was our rabbit, she quickly realized with dread that the rabbit was safely locked in its cage in our bedroom. She also heard a faint mournful cry as if from a young girl. Ash was so frightened she never returned. The activity escalated dangerously. Plates shattered spontaneously, objects hurled themselves violently across rooms, and knives fell from walls without warning. One evening, I was brutally struck in the head by an invisible force while seated at my computer. The attacks became personal and more sinister, culminating in a horrifying encounter in the shower. I distinctly heard Jason's voice greet me, yet seconds later, a grotesque, terrifying face appeared through the curtain, vanishing immediately as I screamed. The final straw was waking up with deep scratches. 18 perfect lines across my face and, moments later, even more vicious scratches across my chest and back, leaving painful scars. Terrified and desperate, we moved out swiftly. Yet I still bear physical and emotional scars from living in that house, eternally grateful that we escaped before something worse occurred.
Our fifth real paranormal occurrence is about the sobbing woman.
I would like to share a few unsettling experiences that have haunted my life. I'm unsure if my family simply attracts these phenomena, or if we've been unlucky enough to move into the wrong houses. My mom and I once lived in a quaint little house that seemed perfectly normal at first. A few months after settling in, we were having tea in the kitchen with my aunt and cousin when we suddenly heard a woman sobbing loudly from the basement. We exchanged anxious glances, knowing full well that nobody else was home. Hesitantly approaching the basement door, the crying intensified, sending chills through our bodies. We stood paralyzed, simply listening, until the heartbreaking sobs abruptly ceased. Though we never heard it again, the memory lingered ominously. Another night in that same house, I was alone watching TV. A creeping sensation of being watched overtook me, raising goosebumps on my skin. I turned around slowly, horrified to see a translucent red hand reaching towards me, fingers curled menacingly, poised to grab. Terrified, I immediately shut off the TV and fled to my mother's bed, unable to shake the feeling of dread. Years later, we moved into another old two-story house previously inhabited by an elderly couple who had passed away. My friend and I were alone downstairs painting furniture when the laundry room door slammed violently shut, twice. We cautiously investigated, discovering nothing amiss. Later, orbs of soft light floated eerily through my bedroom, and we often heard heavy, invisible footsteps upstairs, pacing relentlessly. One night, as I sat alone watching television, the unmistakable sound of deep, labored breathing, like someone sleeping, echoed from the empty adjacent bedroom. Eventually, even my family couldn't deny the terrifying presence. My husband, children, and teenage daughter all became frightened, refusing to stay alone in the house. Even now, neighbors report hearing phantom doors slamming and faint whispers emanating from that empty home. Before this house, we lived in a trailer that seemed equally cursed. Shadowy figures frequently drifted through rooms, and one chilling night after everyone had retired, the living room lamp inexplicably turned itself on, casting sinister shadows. Perhaps the land itself was haunted, as my husband's brother had once lived nearby, and both of our trailers mysteriously burned down. Whatever the reasons, these experiences have left an indelible mark on my life, constantly reminding me that perhaps we're never truly alone.
You've just experienced 5 true stories that challenge the boundary between our world and the unseen. Do spirits walk among us, or is it our fear that makes them real? Thanks for joining us on this eerie journey. Remember, sometimes truth is stranger and far scarier than fiction. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and beware of what might be lurking just out of sight. This has been Passport to Terror. Good night.